taking back to last night, curious your thoughts on the overall defensive play. Obviously, your defense is a little depleted right now, but just how they kind of handled that first task.
Yeah, I thought they hung in there. Like I said, injuries are kind of having Risto and Yorkie up, so we're trying to committee type of thing, try to protect the D. It's a obviously Sandy's playing a lot of minutes, so there's just pockets of the game where I would like this to manage the puck a little bit better. But 5-on-5, I don't know, the chances were 12-9 for them. It wasn't too bad. Obviously them giving those power plays early gave them some life. We got to stay out of the box. But for the most part, we hung in there. We had a chance at the end there. Tiki almost scored that goal, and that's 2-2 game. So there's a lot of positives, but we got a long way to go.
Where are you?
Speaking of defense, what have you seen from Jamie Drysdale so far?
Yeah, I see a guy that's very motivated to take this game to another level. I've really liked his camp, and he really wants to learn. He wants to make that next play. As a defender, if he walks the blue line, can he make that next play? Those are the moves that I think he can do. I think he should watch video of Quinn Hughes and the Makars of the world, the Werenskis. I think those are good benchmarks for him to look what they're doing, how they control the game, and because I think he has it in him. And I see, to be honest with you, I see him trying to close in on people and try to stop cycles. He's not waiting around. I like that. So the aggressiveness there. So yeah, he's trending in the right direction for me.
So when Tortorella was here, he went in to be a rover. Is that what you're looking at? Because that was Werenski. It was somebody he compared him to.
Yeah, I just think for him, there's a time and place for him to go and manage the game. There's sometimes pockets of a game where they can control the game. Those type of defensemen can control the game. Whether it's a smart play in the neutral zone, whether it's walking the blue line and making a play down low, or just shooting the puck. I think those are the type of players that can control games.
Moving to Travis Sanheim, you mentioned about the fact that he got a lot of minutes last night. Obviously, with York and Ristolainen out, that might be a thing. But for you as a coach, is there a limit? Is there an idea of how many minutes do you really want him taking at this point? Even though he clearly can, just in terms of possible downstream effects later in the year.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously he's a heavy minute guy. I don't have an exact number, but you're getting the high 20s, 30. That's a tough game. But I think we can manage the game better for him. If we're putting him in tough spots, he was out there for a long time. We don't get the puck in deep. They come in, they control the puck. Then we take a penalty, and then he sits the bench for then he gets him back out there. Those are the heavy minutes we got to limit for the guys like him, and we can manage the game better for him. But he's a heavy minute guy. He can handle it.
You mentioned about about penalties, things like that, with managing the game. I guess, what did you chalk up the amount of penalties you guys took last night? Because it seemed like, especially in the second period, maybe the discipline wasn't quite there.
Well, the stick infractions. You can't hook. There's the one hand can opener. I think it happened twice with us. You just can't do it. You just got to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined in details in your game, and that's something we don't want. This makes no sense to have your stick in the guy's hands. Just don't do it. Even if you think it's a soft call, it doesn't matter. The refs have said if you're going to put your stick there, bad things will happen. So don't put it up there. That's really what it comes down to.
It's obvious there's still a lot of teaching going on out there this time of year. Is it safe to say it's going to take some games to shake that out? Because there's only so much you can do in practices and walkthroughs, things like that.
I call it pressure reps, right? Game pressure reps. You can, listen, you learn from the best. You look at the benchmark like Florida, they handle pressure. They've been in, the last 3 years, they've played the most pressure games in the league, all these playoff games. We got to get our guys to play in pressure moments, and how do we handle that? That's really what it comes down to. So how do you do that? Yeah, reps in the game. Obviously practice, you have to practice it, but in games, you got to apply it. You got to know before you're getting the puck what's going on. The team's in structure. Do I really want to flip a puck in the middle, or should I make an indirect play to my forechecker? Those are pressure situations where you want to make good decisions, and you have to stack those every day. You have to take those inconsistencies. I'll do it once in a while. No, you got to do it all the time. Sure, you're going to make mistakes, but I think we're trying to build that foundation around here.
You flipped the wingers on the top two lines. Just maybe the thought process behind it.
Just chemistry wise, trying to, chances wise, trying to figure a few things out. I think Coots and TK and Mitch played last year a little bit together. I thought apparently they played well together. So we'll see how that works. Just trying to get, obviously the Casey line to me has been a really good line the last 3-4 games because they're always connected. So we're trying to find connect like a Tip. I thought Tippett's had a good camp and has had some pretty good pockets of the games. I think we just got to find them guys that can carry the puck with him, and play that north-south style. Because I think he's a guy that he's close, so we need to find him some guys that can push the pace.
We talked a little bit 2 days ago about the goalie, or actually it was yesterday, the goalie decision going with Vladar in game 1. Obviously Sam was the primary starter last year. So it does, raise some eyebrows when he's not the primary starter for game 1. Is that something that, as a coach, that you have to have a conversation with him just to make sure he knows where he stands, given where he was last year versus this year?
Well, I don't know if I agree in the sense where he stands. I mean, it's the first game of the year. It's game 40, and like we're trying to find out who's going to take. I know what you're saying, but no, to me, it's like he whenever he gets his chance, it's his chance, right? We just felt that Vladdy had a good camp and he had a good game for us. So, I'm not sure I raise eyebrows. I think, Vladdy had a good game for us. And Urs, if he plays tomorrow, it's his, we can't put so much pressure on these guys that, if I don't play a good game, I'm not going to play again. That, we have 2 really good goalies that we're trying to find out who's going to take the lead right now. And right now we're going to probably rotate them for a while and see who takes the lead.
Last one.
The power play had some struggles again yesterday. How do you maybe get past the ghosts of previous years with the power play?
Well, I think we got surprised, right? Yogi and Jay gave him a great video on Florida, and it's going to have to be worse tomorrow because they're all low pressure, and we didn't handle the pressure. And that's the consistency of I think our power play in training camp's been actually pretty good. We're starting to find some good stuff, but when there's information to you, understand that you won't have time to massage the puck. You don't have time. You got to move the puck, and you got to move against a pressure team. If you're going to play Carolina tomorrow, you get it. You got to know the pressure come to you. We need people to move to support, and you got to move the puck. If you're slow to those reads, and we only had those really basically one power play because so it's hard to judge. I think those guys want another crack at it, so it's kind of a tough one for me. Sometimes the power play is just going to have a bad power play. You can't, but I think for the most part, it's done a nice job.